The United States aircraft carrier fleet is the pride of the country and the worst nightmare of any foe. In this video, we will discuss the largest and most dangerous class carrier, named after the 38th President of the United States, Gerald Rudolph Ford, Gerald R. for Multipurpose Nuclear Engine Line. Aircraft carriers are gradually leaving the Nimitz class and have achieved great success not only on the technical side, but also in appearance. Surpassing the physical parameters of its record-breaking predecessor, compare a Ford 1,100 feet long and 256 feet wide by 1,092 feet long and 252 feet wide, as well as an increase in mass of over 100,000 tons in the Ford, compared to 97,000 tons in the Ford. Nimitz while carriers were previously considered a separate mini-fleet in the U.S. Navy itself due to the capacity of the equipment, as well as the amount of equipment and personnel they carry. To a new level, this will allow the U.S. Navy to quickly deploy its aircraft wherever they are needed, eliminating dependence on foreign military bases. The Ford wing will be able to destroy hundreds of targets every day for several weeks, increasing the effectiveness of our military. Strength in the war against the enemy. The most significant advantage that the newest carriers have over their Nimitz-class ancestors is an increased number of sorties. A fundamental indicator for carriers of the number of sorties flying per day, Ford's design changed from a steam catapult to a more efficient electromagnetic system with a new braking mechanism to stop the aircraft on return, which also allowed more space on deck, which was an obvious advantage for smooth movement. Naval launch aircraft assumes an increase in sorties from 33 to 160 sorties per day under normal conditions, with a possible increase to 270 sorties per day. Conditions become more dangerous. Now imagine how dangerous 200 smart bombers a day is to the enemy. Aircraft, new catapults and braking systems will allow Ford to launch many more drones that differ from those offered by the Nimitz class, meaning light and heavy drones for gathering intelligence, delivering weapons to points of conflict and refueling aircraft. As for aviation, Ford can carry up to 90 helicopters and unmanned aerial vehicles in the air group have increased electrical power. The Nimitz nuclear reactor is not capable of generating sufficient power to fuel all the combat systems required by the U.S. Navy for the foreseeable future, on the other hand, using two smaller but more efficient reactors, providing sufficient power for carriers with potential for decades to come, and targeting further upgrades, their power may be required. Specifically for directed power. Weapons as futuristic laser carriers. Russian nuclear reactors can simultaneously power several countries, Monaco, Liechtenstein, Andorra and San Marino in 1 year. Weapons handling efficiency. Germany's weapons logistics was developed decades ago and is not optimized for modern smart weapons. This is a major factor limiting in speed taking off at Ford. Engineers have significantly facilitated the movement of warheads deployed on carrier aircraft, and most of them are automated. Functions that reduce people's needs, significantly speed up life-saving decisions in an emergency. Improved radar. Radar has an important role in human life. German-class carriers need multiple radars to perform their functions from detection to tracking and to identify targets. On the other hand, Ford is able to replace the entire array of radars with one multifunction radar. Moreover, it takes up much less space that this system has. Higher sensitivity than its predecessor and easier to maintain, less space required for radar deployment has led to a decrease in its visibility to the enemy, which is also an undeniable advantage. The enlarged cockpit moves the radar a little further along the bore, increasing the efficiency of the carrier's cockpit. As in the case of Germany, more than 4 acres of deck space was used for the Ford, but its use became much smarter, which allowed it to maintain a balanced operation. Attacks fighter jets, airborne radar jammers, propellers, and of course unmanned aerial vehicles, while increasing the number of sorties every day, forced the start for the future of 10 existing Nimitz-class carriers. The Navy has been gradually modernizing them to meet modern threats and challenges. However, due to this update, in 2005, the RAND report found that the weight of the ship also increased significantly, and its center of gravity shifted drastically to a critical point, thereby increasing. It was further deemed unacceptable, as military experts of the Ford class believed that it would not have such problems even after decades of active service. Carrier operating costs. Because thousands of people needed to be supplied, Nimitz was designed with relatively low labor costs at the time and limited automation capabilities, while Ford was designed to replace manpower with technology to reduce. It takes a crew and costs 20%. Nimitz often had to lay off hundreds of sailors, but Ford was unlikely to have a staffing problem. Will significantly reduce the requirements for maintenance. For example, carrier reactors are much easier to repair than NIMS, and this despite the fact that they can generate more power. The multifunction radar and electromagnetic catapult are also many times easier to maintain than their predecessors. These and other applications of the latest technologies will be combined to save the Navy billions of dollars. Lowering carrier building operating costs, of course expensive, but for the US budget much cheaper than most lifetime maintenance costs, savings in crew maintenance, and significant reductions in other costs. The safest and most useful combat system in the U.S. arsenal. The United States is the only country in the world with a navy and budget large enough to support more than 10 aircraft carriers. That the operation and maintenance of the carrier building costs the entire fleet 1% of the federal budget. Gerald R. Ford's aircraft carrier cost taxpayers more than $13 billion, but despite what critics say, they are more expensive than they seem at first glance, even if you factor in the cost of escort ships. But the truth is that the US Navy will need tens, if not hundreds of times as many warships if it is to try to fight a conflict without aircraft. The carrier is currently 5 ships of the first class commissioned. 1 carrier has been launched, another one is under construction, and 2 aircraft carrier construction is planned to start in 2023 and 2027. What will happen next? The project of this class carrier is still unknown, but one thing is clear, even with its flaws. Gerald Ford was a major leap forward in military technology over the past 40 years and deserves the status of a naval threat along with a nervous expression from colleagues from Russia and China, who with the passage of time to challenge the United States' superiority in the maritime area from time to time.